All right, all right, all right. Welcome in, guys. Appreciate you guys joining me here on the Mount Polumbus Speaks on a Friday night. I had a fun day. Yeah, we got some bad weather out there. Yes, the weather was terrible for the Rockies game. No, I did not watch that Rockies game. Yes, they did lose that Rockies home opener. Shock, shock. What did I do today? I went up to Boulder, Colorado. I went up to the showcase. The University of Colorado had their pro day today, but they don't call it the pro day. They call it the I Ain't Hard to Find showcase. That's what I went up to go watch up in Boulder. And I tell you what, it was a real treat to be up there. There were hundreds, at least it seemed like it, of scouts and GMs and head coaches and owners. Jimmy Haslam of the Browns was up there. Brian Daboll, head coach of the Giants, was up there. Every single team had representation, including the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton was there. George Payton was there. Vance Joseph was there. Probably 5, 6, maybe 7 different coaches from the Broncos were all represented at the pro day, including plenty of scouts from the Denver Broncos. So who are the Broncos scouting? Maybe Will Sheppard. That might be the guy. I'll tell you more about Will Sheppard later. It was a great day for Shedeur Sanders. It was a great day for Travis Hunter. It was a great day for Will Sheppard. But before I get into the pro day, as always, need to take a quick second here to shout out my sponsors. Safeway is the title sponsor of Mount Polumbus Speaks, and I couldn't do it without them. I've been working with Safeway in charitable efforts and business efforts for 6 or 7 years. They have donated $500, $600, maybe even $700,000 to ovarian cancer awareness in honor of my mom, Nancy, who passed away from ovarian cancer. And they're just an incredible grocery store. They have an incredible app that if you don't have on your phone, I'm telling you, you're missing out. Download the Safeway app. Skip the delivery service apps and order directly on that Safeway app. I order once a week. They save my order. I add 4 or 5 new items. It literally takes me 5 minutes. Before I blink my eye, I've got the food at my doorstep. You get to get points that you get to redeem for discounts right now, down the road, however you want to do it. And it's just an incredible service. So make sure you download that Safeway app. Safeway, fresh foods, local flavors. They're going to get that food delivered to you in a blink of an eye. Okay, here's what went down this morning. I was up in Boulder bright and early. I got there 7:45, 8 a.m. And hand measurements, weigh-ins, height, all those things, that started going down about 8:30. When I walked in the door, the first guy I saw was Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders was out there in the field house. He was mingling with any scouts that were out there bright and early, and there were only 2 or 3 players that were really out in the field house. Shedeur was one of them. Got to say hello to Shedeur for just a quick hot minute there, and before he knew it, the day was off and running. Don't have anything earth-shattering to report in terms of the height and weight. I didn't pay attention to it. I don't care, nor do I care about their hand sizes. The first event of the day was the 225-pound bench press. So how many reps can you get repping out 225? Well, none of the big names participated in that. So the big names, who are the big names for the Buffs today? Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. Those are the 2 big ones. Okay, after Shedeur Sanders, after Travis Hunter, you've got Jimmy Horn, you've got Will Sheppard, you've got Silman Craig, and Shiloh. If you want to consider Shiloh a big name, he's not going to go high in the draft, but he certainly is a big name because he's got Sanders on the back of the jersey. And I don't think any of the big names participated in the 225 bench, at least not that I could see. Yes, a bunch of the offensive linemen, a bunch of the defensive linemen participated, but nothing breaking with the bench press because the big names did not participate. Shiloh did get up, say he's declining to bench because he's got a right shoulder injury that's been lingering for a while. That's a bummer for Shiloh because, quite frankly, he needed to participate in everything he possibly could today in order to make a case for himself as a draftable candidate in the NFL draft. After the bench press, they went over to the vertical jump. And here's where things got interesting. Shane Cokes, defensive lineman, had a good day. Jumped 30 inches. That was pretty good for a defensive lineman. Will Sheppard, however, stole the show. Silman Craig, if you're interested, he jumped 30 and a half inches. Not great, to be totally honest with you, for a defensive back. You would like to see him jumping well higher than that. Will Sheppard stole the show, though. Let me pull up Will Sheppard here real quickly because I don't know what his actual height is, and I'm curious because Will Sheppard looks to me like he's a very legitimate 6'4", listed at 6'3". He was listed at 6'3", 198. I'm telling you, he bulked up from that. Will Sheppard steps up to that vertical jump, and how you do this, you reach your hand up. They've got this thing. Why am I drawing a blank on what they call the vertical jump test kit? What do they call that thing? We'll call it the vertical jump trainer. They got the vertical jump trainer where what they've got is they've got a bunch of little plastic plates that are stacked, probably 50 little plastic plates that are stacked up on a bar that are hanging over you. So you reach your arm up, you figure out what your baseline is on the height on your arm reach. Then you stand directly underneath it. You don't get to take a step. You have to keep your feet still. You jump up and you smack as many of those little plastic plates as you possibly can. Will Sheppard, in his first jump, got all but the very top two. It was pretty ridiculous. And when he jumped for the first time, the energy in that building went through the roof. His teammates went nuts. A bunch of the scouts started hooting and hollering. Everybody knew on that first jump that Will Sheppard just did something special. Will Sheppard jumped 40 and a half inches. I'm going to look up this year's combine best vertical. Let's check it out. There were some really good ones at the combine this year. It looks like somebody jumped 46 inches, somebody jumped 44 and a half inches, but at 6'3", 6'4", jumping 40 and a half inches, Will Sheppard, just like that, got himself on the map as a draftable candidate. He did not get invited to the combine. It was an absolute slap in the face. How Will Sheppard did not get invited to the combine, I don't know. I don't get it. He is a draftable guy. He's 6'3", 6'4", give or take, based off who's measuring him. And he was one of the leading receivers in Vanderbilt history before he transferred over to the University of Colorado and had a great season last year. He gets up there, jumps 40 and a half inches, and steals the show. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And I was happy for him because I've been a big fan of Will Sheppard's for a long time now. And I'm going to get to Shedeur. I'm going to get to Travis Hunter. So just hang with me here. We'll get to them in just a minute. But I was really, really happy for Will Sheppard because I think he's a perfect comp to a Tim Patrick. If you like Tim Patrick, if you like Vele from the Denver Broncos, you're going to love yourself a Will Sheppard. Somebody is going to get an absolute steal from Will Sheppard in the 6th or 7th round of this year's NFL draft. And I honestly wouldn't be shocked if somebody wanted to draft him even higher than that. They just like the measurables. They like what he did. Maybe even goes as high as the 5th round, something like that. In terms of the 40s, keep in mind, they've got They've got all the guys running the 40s, and then they've got the media probably 25, 30 yards away from it. We're on the end zone looking towards them. And, of course, we can't time them ourselves. Of course, we can't hear the scouts' times. And every single scout, when you get to the pro day, they don't use a laser. So you're going to get a huge variation of times when it comes to pro days because everybody's using a handheld, right? But because it was the showcase, CU was making it bigger, better, brighter than ever before, and they did have some cool stuff up there. They had a big some lettering, some signage, I should say, that looked like it was out of Vegas with neon lights that said the showcase. And one thing they did that you're never going to see at any other pro day is they actually put up, they've got a little mini jumbotron, not a jumbotron, a little scoreboard inside the indoor facility. And after every run, they put up the guy's 40 times. Now, whose 40 time was that? Was that somebody from CU that was clocking it? And then they were just telling somebody that was running the scoreboard? Probably. So these are unofficial 40 times. These are not the Denver Broncos times. These are not the New York Giants, the Cleveland Browns times. It's a totally unofficial time. But nonetheless, it was nice that CU would put that up on the scoreboard so that we could all see the times that these guys were running. Will Sheppard not only jumped 40 and a half inches, he had a pretty decent day running the 40. For a 6'3" guy, he ran a 4.54 and he ran a 4.56. I know in today's world, everybody's looking for 4.4s, 4.48s. But at 6'3", 6'4", jumping 40 and a half inches, talk about a hell of a red zone target. Talk about a hell of a jump ball target. And talk about a dude that's still got breakaway speed. A 4.54 is very legit for Will Sheppard. No, it's not blazing fast. No, it's not Jimmy Horn type of speed. Jimmy Horn was the fastest dude that was on the field. Travis Hunter did not participate in any of the measurements. He didn't participate in the weight room stuff, didn't participate in the 40, the L drill, the pro shuttle. So I don't know what Travis Hunter's 40 time is. All I can tell you is the guys that actually ran, Jimmy Horn was the fastest Colorado Buffalo out there. Jimmy Horn ran a 4.4 40 and a 4.47 40. Again, unofficial times. That's blazing. Now, I know that Jimmy Horn, when he was at the Combine, he was talking about trying to break the all-time record. He was trying to crack into the 4.3s. He did not do that, at least in the unofficial times, but a 4.4 is flying. I don't care who's talking. In any world, a 4.4 is absolutely flying. And then Shedeur Sanders. I thought he actually ran really well. You know, I didn't know what kind of speed Shedeur Sanders was going to have. Oftentimes, safeties are not as fast as corners. They're not as fast as wide receivers. Shedeur Sanders was actually the second fastest player that ran today. Behind Jimmy Horn in his 4.4, Shedeur Sanders ran a 4.52 and a 4.59. So he just barely beat Will Sheppard's 4.54 with his first run. Shiloh was trying to run a 4.4. There was something out there that Deion Sanders offered to buy Shiloh a new car if he ran in the 4.4s. I don't think that there's going to be any official times that has Shedeur Sanders running in the 4.4s. But 4.52, that's very respectable for a safety. Very, very respectable. And I don't know what's going to happen with Shiloh. I'd be surprised if he got drafted, but he's going to get invited to plenty of training camps as an undrafted free agent, and he'll have an opportunity to crack a squad either as a practice squad member or as a true undrafted free agent that makes the team. And because he's got a good last name, he'll get plenty of opportunities. That 4.52, I think, is really going to help out Shedeur Sanders. I don't think it's necessarily going to make him a draftable candidate, but we'll see what it does for him in the big picture once the draft comes around on April 24th, just 20 days away from today. The positional work started after the 40s, and I didn't write down any of the other 40 times. Those were the three fastest guys on the team, and so those were the only three that I actually wrote down. After the 40 times, they started the positional work. They also did the pro shuttle and the L drill. I didn't mark down any of those times. The positional work started, and I had heard earlier in the day, talking to a couple pretty good sources, that initially when we walked in that building, the word on the street was that Travis Hunter wasn't going to participate in anything. Not only was he not going to participate in the weight room or in the 40s, he wasn't going to participate as a defensive back or as a wide receiver. The work was in the bag. Watch the film. There's everything you need to know. Well, what I heard, and again, this is rumors that was told today to me at the pro day, so take it for whatever it's worth. But what I was told today was that the New York Giants talked to Travis Hunter's camp last night or maybe early this morning. They said, hey, we're flying in a huge contingency. And the reason that we're coming is because we specifically want to see you, Travis Hunter, run routes. We want to see you participate as wide receiver. So word gets back to Travis, and I guess he makes a last-second flip of his decision, and he decides that he's going to go ahead and participate in the throwing session from Shedeur Sanders. I don't have anything huge to report on in terms of offensive linemen, defensive linemen, any of those positional drills that were going on. But by the time they got to Shedeur Sanders for his throwing session, that's when the show began. That's why everybody was there. All those scouts, the 100 of them that were there, whatever it was going to be, all the fans, all the media, and there was easily 60, 75 media members there. I've never in my life seen so many bodies at a pro day. I mean, it was absolutely insane. It was the biggest pro day in the history of the University of Colorado, and there'll probably never be a pro day as big as this one ever again. And when Shedeur gets out there, starts warming up, all of a sudden you could feel people are starting to get excited. Now this is where the show is actually going to begin. Shedeur takes, 10, 15 minutes to get warmed up with his quarterback coach. Travis Hunter is out there running routes with them. Travis looks absolutely phenomenal. And immediately I noticed something from Travis Hunter in warm-ups that I thought to myself, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if this is just a warm-up thing or if he's actually going to run routes like this. Travis Hunter wasn't wearing gloves, which I know you're going to be like, oh, what's the big deal? He wasn't wearing gloves. Every wide receiver wears gloves. Today's gloves are like built-in stick-em on them. Nobody tries to catch passes in the NFL and college football without wide receiver gloves on. But Travis Hunter went out there. He's very nonchalant. I'm not going to say carefree, but he was very, very relaxed. He was having fun. He was dancing. He was goofing around. And he wasn't wearing gloves. I found out after the fact that, well, first off, that was not just a warm-ups thing. By the time we got to the actual workout itself, he wasn't wearing gloves there either. He was the only wide receiver not wearing gloves. And I found out after the fact, Brian Baldinger went on NFL Network, and he said he asked Travis about that. He asked him why he wasn't wearing gloves. And I guess Travis's response was something along the lines of, I did that on purpose. It was intentional. I thought to myself it was a statement, but I'm like, are you crazy, Tyler? Like, is he really making a statement by not wearing gloves? It was a statement. The statement that he was making, or maybe not the statement, but the justification for it, was that he wanted the scouts and the GMs and the owners to hear the pop every time he caught the ball, so they could hear the strength of his hands, the way that he grips that ball every single time he catches it. So he did have a reason why he didn't wear gloves. He wanted them to hear that pop every single time he caught it. He did not bobble a single pass all day long, and he stood out. How did Shedeur Sanders do? Phenomenal. That's how Shedeur Sanders did. Phenomenal. Okay? I really don't know what he could have done better. There were a few things that I'll come back to here in a second that Shedeur probably would have liked to done a little bit better at. But Shedeur Sanders threw 67 passes, and this is high-tempo stuff, man. This is really fast, quick tempo. One pass, next pass, next pass, next pass. Very few breaks and intertwined. Went on for close to an hour. The throwing session went on for close to an hour, and it was nonstop. Boom, 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 boom. 67 passes. He, according to Tyler math, there were 5 balls that hit the ground. 3 of them were drops, including a 65, 70-yard bomb to Will Sheppard that Will was fully extended on, and he just couldn't bring it in. Probably should have been caught. I don't think it's going to hurt Will Sheppard. It's definitely not going to hurt Shedeur Sanders. That was one of the 3 dropped passes. there were two passes that I would say, okay, Shedeur would probably like those balls back. Overthrew a couple down there in the lower red zone. And other than that, though, I mean, flawless. 63 of 67. Yes, it's routes on air. Yes, he's throwing to his own guys. And yes, it's very hard to actually look bad at these pro days when you're throwing in your own environment to your own guys with a script that you know in advance of what those routes are going to be. So I'm not trying to make more of this than what it was. But what I'm going to tell you, I don't know what the hell he could have done better. He was phenomenal. Probably had 6, maybe 7 throws between 60 and 75 yards. For whatever reason, there are a lot of questions out there about Shedeur Sanders' arm strength. Huh? Have they watched the games? I literally don't understand where this is coming from. Shedeur Sanders throws one of the most beautiful deep balls I've ever seen. Now, I'll tell you that his deep ball, it looks exactly like Russell Wilson's. He throws a beautiful moon ball. It's not always on a rope, but he throws that moon ball. He gives his receivers plenty of time to catch up to it, and he puts it in a spot where they can just run full speed and catch it. Russell Wilson actually had questions about his arm strength as well. And now I'm not talking about Russell Wilson in the last 2 or 3 years. I'm talking about Russell Wilson in his prime. Russell Wilson was arguably the best deep ball thrower in the NFL. And that's what Shedeur Sanders' deep ball looks like. I don't understand the arm strength questions. And if there are arm strength questions, I certainly think they were answered today. They were all NFL throws. They were all beautiful connections. Every single deep ball was catchable or caught, except for the one that Will Sheppard dropped. And that was certainly catchable. Now, where could Shedeur have looked a little bit better? I thought early on, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't clean. It wasn't crisp. Look, I'm not saying it was like Peyton Manning of 2015 when Peyton's body was broken down on him and he's throwing those wobblers out there all the time. But in Shedeur's first 10 throws, he probably had three or four passes that were wobbly. Nothing that was disastrous, and the ball ended up where it was supposed to go, by the way. They were still caught. They were still good passes. They were just wobbly. They just weren't perfect tight spirals. I wonder if he will get knocked on for that. I don't know. And then the other area that I would say was not just perfect for Shedeur was kind of in that 12 to 15 yard out range. When he was throwing those 12 to 15 yard deep outs to the sideline from the opposite hash type of throw. First off, the balls connected, the balls were caught, but they did sail. They sailed on him a little bit. So they were rising by the time they got to the wide receiver, and maybe on a couple of the catches, they made it really tough on the wide receiver to keep his feet in bounds. Maybe 1 or 2 of them, they actually didn't get 2 feet in bounds. I'm not sure. I wasn't watching that closely. But he did have some rising balls in that 12 to 15 yard range, and he had a few wobblers. Oh, well, every quarterback's got a few wobblers, and no quarterback's going to throw 67 perfect passes. In the big picture, he was lights out. He was flat out dealing. Shedeur Sanders was phenomenal. And I do find it interesting. Brian Daboll was there from the Giants. Guess who else was there? The owner of the Cleveland Browns. Jimmy Haslam was there. Now, say what you will about Jimmy, and doesn't have the best reputation in the world. But when an owner shows up to a pro day, yeah, that tells you something. That tells you a lot. They're very interested in this guy. Jimmy and the Browns took Shedeur Sanders out to eat last night, and I guess they had a private dinner with him where they got to know him. I think Deion Mayer, I think he might have been there from my understanding. Deion said that he had very good interactions with the owner, thought he was a very nice guy. What's the takeaway? The takeaway is that you're insane if you think Shedeur Sanders is going outside of the top 5. I think you're probably insane if you think he's going outside the top 2. I don't really see a logical reason why Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders wouldn't go 1-2. Did he have the type of day that's going to jump him over Cam Ward? I don't know. Probably not. But tomato, man. I think both quarterbacks are very good. I don't think you have to knock one in order to complement the other. Shedeur Sanders was phenomenal. I'm not telling you he's going to be the first overall pick, but he had the type of day that I do think cements him as a top 2 or 3 pick in the NFL draft. Where will Travis Hunter go? That'll be interesting. I hope he ends up with the New England Patriots at number 4. That would be a great situation for Travis Hunter. They've got some other wide receivers. They've got a good young quarterback. They've got a great head coach in Mike Vrabel. That would be an ideal situation for Travis Hunter. I'm sure he'd be a little bit bummed out if he went 4th overall because he wants to go 1 or 2. But if he went 4, I think that would be the dream scenario for him. So in a weird world, Travis Hunter probably should hope that Shedeur Sanders does go number 2, because that would mean he ends up with the best destination for Travis Hunter rather than getting selected by the Cleveland Browns by the Cleveland Browns or the New York Giants. The Patriots would be a much, much better destination for Travis Hunter. I thought we all expected that, right? I expected Travis Hunter to look phenomenal. I expected Shedeur Sanders to look phenomenal. And they showed up and they showed out. They did their deal. So there wasn't a huge surprise there from either one of them. I think they just both did their deal. They did it very, very well. I would say the guy that did the most for himself today was Will Sheppard. And again, I'm not talking about a super high draft pick, but I think Will Sheppard went from a guy that did not get invited to the combine to guaranteeing himself he's going to hear his name called at some point during the NFL draft. If you asked me today who would get drafted next after Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I'd probably say Jimmy Horn. Jimmy Horn with his 4.4 speed and a lot of production at the college level. I could see him being a 3rd or 4th round draft pick and Will Sheppard being a 5th or 6th round draft pick. So that's the day up from Boulder. Appreciate all you weirdos and all you losers out there that are hanging out with me. I'm another one of those weirdos and losers that's got nothing going on Friday night here. I just thought that today's showcase from CU was worthy of a Friday night special here from Mount Polumbus Speaks. Again, shout out to Safeway, my title sponsor, and want to give a shout out to Ascend Barbershop in the Parker area. I love Ascend Barbershop. It's a luxury barbershop experience. I've been going there for a very long time. Alfred Castro is my man. Anthony's the other guy I'll go to if I can't get in with Alfred. Once you get cut by Ascend Barbershop, you're never going to go anywhere else. I'm telling you, you'll never go back to the great clips of the world. It's a different experience. It's a phenomenal experience. It'll be the best haircut of your life. They're in the Parker area, Ascend Barbershop. Let them know that Tyler sent you on over. They're going to get you taken care of. If you guys have not subscribed to Mount Polumbus Speaks, and I know the majority of you guys watch on Twitter, or on X, I should say, please hit that link in my bio on X. Go over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Number one, you want to make sure you don't miss out on any of my content that I put out unique to the YouTube platform. Number two, just know if you appreciate what I'm doing here in Mount Polumbus Speaks, you like what I'm doing, I'm really trying to grow my channel over there, and you would do wonders for the algorithm if you could take 10 seconds out of your day, go over to YouTube, like and comment on this video, and that does crazy things for the algorithm, and it really, really helps my channel grow, and I'd just be super grateful to you. So if you enjoyed Mount Polumbus Speaks, maybe you could do that favor for me. All right, I'll be back with you guys soon. I hope you guys